Hello everyone, my name's Tomatoanus, also known as the Emaciated Rooster. This is a segmented any percent speedrun of Resident Evil 3 Remake on the Inferno difficulty, and I'm gonna explain how the world record holder, Katastrophic, beats the game in under 43 minutes. Kat not only recorded the run for this video, and not only set a new world record, breaking the 43-minute barrier for Inferno while this video is in production, but she and the world record holder for Resident Evil 2 Remake, Frit, both helped with this script to make sure it's all as accurate as possible. The service is horrible here. I've been waiting 5 minutes for water. And now this guy won't frickin' move. If you're unfamiliar with the Inferno difficulty, consider yourself lucky. This game, like RE2R, utilizes a difficulty adjustment mechanic, DA for short. Whenever you do something like take or deal damage, pick up or use items, miss shots, and more, you either gain or lose DA points. The higher your DA, the harder the game. Enemies take and deal more damage and are generally more aggressive. Move! When you play on standard, your DA is capped at 8,999. It can't get any harder than that. On hardcore, your DA is locked between 8,000 and 9,999. And with Nightmare, your DA is locked in the 10,000s the whole time. When you play on Inferno though, your DA can range from a minimum of 11,000 to a max of 19,000, so it's effectively uncapped. There's a lot more to the difficulty of Inferno than this though. I'll get into it during the run. Lastly, this is specifically a no intro run, the default category on speedrun.com. This game has a pretty lengthy opening sequence that, from a speedrun perspective, doesn't amount to much more than a walking simulator. No intro saves about 4.5 minutes in game time and about 6 minutes in real time. Whoa, 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 whoa! Simon says, breathe out your ears. Okay, now Simon says, spin in circles. And stop. Man, you guys are good. Okay, Simon says stop and tell me about this video's sponsor, War Thunder. For sure. You betcha. War Thunder, that's the McVick gem. Most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. With over 2,500 tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations ranging from the 1920s to today. Nice job, good Simon says. Wait, is that a ghost in the backyard? Yeah, that's Alfred Molina, don't you know? He haunts our backyard. Gee, I didn't realize ghosts were real. Yeah, pretty sure they were invented in 2017 to coincide with the solar eclipse. The War Thunder community is over 95 million strong, and you can join today to participate in the intense PvP battles and experience the detailed vehicles, graphics, and sound effects. There's just a lot to this game, like the in-depth customization, X-ray view for damage, and different game modes for different playstyles. Hey, did you say that's Alfred Molina? I didn't know he was dead. He's not, that's just the ghost's name too. Oh. Use the link in the description or pinned comment to play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. New and returning PC and console players that haven't played in 6 months will get a limited time big bonus pack containing the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of a premium account. Again, links in the description or pinned comment, limited time. Man, you guys are really good at Simon Says. Alright, back to the game. Simon Says take a poop without peeing. To get going, Kat loads the pre-made save for Inferno no intro runs, which starts her off at the first typewriter and in possession of not just the default pistol and knife, but also a green herb, magnum, and hip pouch. Typically, you'd start a Nightmare or Inferno run before the typewriter to grab these pickups, but more recently, you've been allowed to start after the pickups at the typewriter to save on the wrist strain from mashing to grab them, as long as you start your run's timer with a 6.5 second offset to account for the time it would take to pick them up and get to where you start the run. So likely the biggest difference between 2R and 3R is that 3R has a dodge mechanic, which Kat uses right away to quickly get to and interact with the security shutter to go outside where she's gonna head down an alley, grab a flash grenade, and do the first of many chain dodges in the run. Dodging is often the fastest way to get around, and chain dodging is when you do 1 or 2 dodges followed by a perfect dodge. That's when you do a dodge in a frame window that avoids an attack. The screen flashes white. Each chain dodge saves 0.5 to 0.8 seconds, and it's just the tip of the iceberg with dodging, with dodges being really routed and optimized. After skipping these cutscenes, she dodges past a zombie to some stairs where she turns and shoots the red barrel she started next to, pause buffering as she aims to make sure she doesn't miss. Official times for RE runs are what's shown by the in-game timer on the results screen when you beat the game.
That timer pauses whenever you pause, so Kat will periodically pause buffer to check lineups and other things, though she tries to not abuse the mechanic too much. As she finishes running through the storage room here, she does a great example of a routed chain dodge to avoid an enemy that lunges at her from a neighboring room, which she immediately follows up with another chain dodge down the stairs here. Only one enemy can be lunging at you at once, so she's clear to just run past the tentacle head, but she does chain dodge to avoid the tentacle attack it always throws out. And here, Kat's going to do a precise triple dodge into the fire hose pickup. She's at full health, so she's in the fine health range, which affects her animations, and spamming dodge is almost always faster than running normally when in this health state. So in the story, Jill, a former STARS member, is trying to evacuate civilians via subway, but she first has to go to a nearby substation to power the subway, with the alleyway to the substation being on fire and the hose Kat grab being required to put it out. She shoots the electrical box up here to stun most of the zombies, followed by chain dodging, and remember earlier when she dodged a zombie before shooting the red barrel? The zombie lunging was good RNG since it means this second zombie was able to aggro and follow her onto the stairs, meaning he's still on the stairs now and she can chain dodge him and save a little extra time. Dodges are great for both hitting trigger slightly sooner and for bursting through doors since doors are really sticky in 3R. Here she dodges to open this gate before plugging in the hose and putting out the inflamed alley, which is another name for my colon. Through this door she whips her camera around before grabbing the bolt cutters, preparing to dodge to the door and use the cutters. This dodge avoids a forced camera turn, a Jill voice line, and a forced standstill. She skips the cutscene where we meet Nikolai, a bad dude who works for Umbrella, with her then shift boosting and stair skating to burst through the door before he has a chance to glue it shut, but he's already vanished before our very eyes like a ghost. Up here is an alley with 2 dogs and 4 tentacle heads, which according to Kat are the worst enemy because they don't always telegraph their attacks. At a black mark on the ground, she starts a chain dodge on the first dog, then mostly relies on audio cues for how she reacts and times her remaining dodges. She keeps the camera turned to the side to keep an eye out for a dog attack, then rolls through the fence door here, which you can actually get hit through. Kat makes her way into the substation here, where she'll chain dodge, skate up some stairs, and chain dodge again. She'll then interact with an item box to deposit her knife for safekeeping. In other difficulties, you keep the knife on you since it's useful for its super fast turn speed, but for Inferno, you have to pick up the shotgun early for a glitch, so she needs to free up some inventory space. Kat spams weapon wheel at the bottom of the stairs to negate a slowdown animation, quick turns twice around a corner, and triple dodges into the interact for picking up this ornate box. If you haven't played this game before, quick, pause the video and leave a comment on what you think this box contains. She then dodges to the nearby locked door and uses the box, which is opened to reveal that it's designed specifically to hold a lockpick, which I just find weird. She skips the cutscene where Jill gets xenomorph impregnated by a drain demos, then cycles through the menu a couple times to time out a pause buffer that eats through a delay in when you can use your inventory so that she can instantly munch on an herb and kill the demos babies in her tummy. To reactivate power in the substation and get the subways working again to evacuate civilians, she has to flip 4 circuit breakers, but there are these annoying demoses everywhere here, with her intentionally taking a hit from one. This lowers her health into the caution range where the limping movement animation is actually pretty fast, faster than normal running and faster than dodging. This stretch involves a lot of camera tricks, from looking specific directions to manipulate demos behavior to preemptively lining up interacts and dodges. That's another thing worth mentioning about dodges. They're based on Jill's positioning and your camera angle. You get different directions and distances based on your exact setup, so the skill ceiling for dodges is very high. After rounding these corners, she looks back and does a quick pause buffer to check for any demoses on the ceiling before double dodging to the second switch. She got lucky with none coming at her immediately, but they're in hot pursuit after the switch, with her intentionally aggroing one after the wall breaks here so she can walk past the others for free. And she throws a flash to buy her time on the third switch, with her precisely timing a double dodge to avoid the flash. Because that's how flashes work in real life too. If you duck at the right time, the sound and light pass right over your head. She again does a quick pause buffer while looking down the hall here to check for spider fuck, since that would change her plan of attack, but there aren't any, so she dodges to the fourth and final switch. In this run, there ended up being a demos coming up to get an autograph after the switch, which Kat had to dodge, and as she runs to the exit, she looks down to see if any demos are going to attack her from behind. In general, this demos section can be brutal. The demos aggro is a super intuitive thing that you have to experiment with, and it takes a lot of time to really develop an understanding of how they work and how to manipulate them. Fully powering the substation destroys the drained Demos hive, but to get the subway running, Jill has to still power up the subway's traffic control system. Kat saves a few tenths of a second with a tricky double dodge Frit found that brings her into a radio call with Carlos, a mercenary working for Umbrella who helped Jill in the intro. Jill's being hunted by Nemesis, a bioweapon Umbrella has sicked on Jill, and Carlos says that Nemesis is still in the area and he's a huntin'. Worth mentioning, the in-game timer in 3R is paused during radio calls, so during them you want to do everything you can to make progress to take advantage of the free time, like Kat making her way all the way to the door to exit this building here. Outside is where Nemesis makes his first appearance in the no intro run, with Kat tapping aim as he Kool-Aid Mans out of a building, with the aim tap mitigating a stagger you normally get. She then chain dodges a couple zombies up here, which, worth mentioning, this area is nearly void of enemies save for Nemesis on all difficulties below Nightmare. Nemi starts sprinting as you approach some stairs up here, but Kat's able to perfect dodge Nemi's punch before using her magnum to shoot an armored zombie blocking the door. Entering this room triggers a brief radio call, so Kat again primes herself by giving the door she'll exit through a big sniff. She'll dodge to open a fence gate ahead, hope you're noticing a pattern, followed by her doing a chain dodge on a lady zombie on the left. She points her camera down after the chain dodge to manipulate Nemi into doing his tenty attack that she then perfect dodges to save 0.3 seconds. As she runs away from Nemesis, she turns her camera back towards him to keep a lookout for the moment he turns into my nephew who just learned I had games on my phone. As soon as the bull rush begins, she starts dodging, which times out a perfect dodge on Nemi on the third and final dodge of the chain. She does a quick pause buffer right after exiting this building to check her lineup instead of looking up to see her line, because if you look up, Nemi can jump in front of you. Here she enters the subway traffic control building where she grabbed the fire hose earlier, and after grabbing a grenade, she keeps a lookout for a tentacle head that can be almost anywhere, but was a non-factor here. During the brief radio call in the control room, Kat tries to align herself to be as far away from the control panel prompt while still being able to interact with it. The puzzle for setting up the subway line is super free since you have to wait about 12 seconds for dialogue before being able to lock in your answer. While we have a second, stair skating. This is one of the big pieces of movement tech that was also in 2R. Whenever she goes up or down stairs, she rhythmically taps aim to repeatedly interrupt the relatively slow stair animation, allowing her to run at a normal pace. Skating in 3R is a lot different than 2R, with the optimal skate spacing being much longer. You also skate at very different speeds with different weapons, with nades and flashes being the fastest and the knife being the slowest, since tapping aim with a knife out causes you to inch backwards. Here she took a quick detour to grab the shotgun, with Inferno being the only category you grab the shotgun early like this. You could pick it up later on along the route before the second boss fight like in other difficulties, but it's needed for the single most important glitch of Inferno runs during the first boss fight. The forecast calls for raining bodies, so she heads straight for the donut shop again. With her triple dodging into a cutscene, she skips immediately. She does a shift boost while slightly angling her camera up and right for a finicky chain dodge, also paying attention to whether Nemi goes for another punch, since that means she'll have a window for an extra chain dodge on a tenty attack ahead. Shift boosting is where you make sure to start holding shift after you start holding a movement key, which causes you to reach max speed instantly. If you hold shift before the movement key, Jill will stumble when getting moving. A shift boost saves up to 0.15 seconds when executed correctly and are done pretty much from every standstill, like after cutscenes and ladders. She looks up here to force Nemi to slide in as she chain dodges the two tentacle heads in Nemi's punch, then closes this shutter unfittingly nonchalantly. She'll run and dodge into a cutscene up ahead that she immediately skips and shift boosts after, since for some reason Nemesis will be more aggro and punch you immediately if you watch the cutscene too long. In the story, Jill reunited with Carlos at the subways, along with two of Carlos's squad mates, Tyrell and the ghost Nikolai from earlier. Nemesis showed back up though before they can all head to the subway, so Jill sends Carlos off and is now luring Nemesis away, using herself as bait. Up here, Kat will dodge into the interact with the vent that leads her down to the sewers. This wraps up what's considered the first of 8 sections in this game, Downtown 1, and begins Sewers, which contains enemies called Hunter Gammas that have what Kat believes to be the hardest dodge timing to learn on any difficulty. I'll be keeping track of Kat's progress through the rest of the run with this list. After she finishes sealing this door shut, she spams dodge to squeak one in before Jill reaches out to Carlos on her walkie-talkie, which saves her like a tenth of a second of walking. Jill's a bit too deep underground for her walkie-talkie signal to get through, so the objective now is finding our way up. After skating down the stairs up here and dodging sideways into the slide down, there's gonna be a tentacle head that falls that Kat'll shot boost in the head with her magnum. Shot boosts are a lot like shift boosts. Normally, if you try and shoot while holding a movement key and shift, there's a slight stumble, but if you briefly let go of everything, then aim and shoot, and hold move and shift again after, there's a fairly seamless transition between moving, shooting, and moving again, which saves about 0.15 seconds each time you do one. After dodging around the corner to delay herself, there will be the first Hunter Gamma, the enemies with the attack that's really hard to learn to dodge. Kat pulls off a chain dodge here, which resets her dodge cooldown and lets her make it all the way to the ladder up here. To navigate the sewers, you need to operate a bunch of battery-powered doors, and thankfully the battery pack is in the room at the top of the ladder. The hitbox of the table the battery's on sticks out quite a bit, but by wiggling your camera as you approach it, you can avoid the slowdown that's typical of getting too close to a wall or object. She's now headed back the direction she came, since there's a ladder right next to where she slip and slid into her Giardia bath. There's a battery-powered door at the top of the ladder she can now open to progress, but to get to the ladder, she has to pass a tentacle head and a Hunter Gamma. This isn't too bad, just have to tank a stagger here, but there's another Gamma she has to dodge round this bend. She has a setup for this, first mashing Alt to recenter her camera, then aiming to delay herself and avoid a stagger, then shift boosting and chain dodging the living meat pile to snap herself onto the ladder. At the top, she'll climb some curved stairs. There she'll use the battery pack to open a door before then rounding a couple corners to unlock the shortcut door next to the battery door. This way she can grab the battery before proceeding. There's a Gamma that starts spawning after going through the battery door though, and it really likes to stagger you, but by dodging up the little stairs in the hall, you delay yourself enough to not get staggered. She also angles her camera diagonally looking back to manipulate the dodge animation she gets in a moment, but that also makes rounding this corner before the shortcut really tough. The shortcut door has a narrow window for when you can interact with it and keep your movement chain going, with her holding W and mashing both interact keys and the dodge button while slightly dragging her mouse to the right, all to avoid getting a bad dodge animation on her way back to the battery. With the battery in tow, she double dodges the moment she pushes the shortcut door open. That whole stretch of movement is really hard. Most runners have a tough time with it and consider it their least favorite part of sewers. Kat's built different though. She double dodges left here to place the battery to the sewers exit, with her shaking her camera while dodging up the stairs into the next walkie-talkie segment, because turns out shaking your camera while dodging upstairs makes you go slightly farther. Jill's finally high up enough to reach her pen pal, who tells her the subway is indeed working, with Jill resolving to get back. But at the top of the ladder up ahead, Nemesis shows back up, having tracked Jill and is now able to shoot fire. This begins downtown too, with the only path forward being into and up a building as Nemi sets the building ablaze in pursuit. After Jill strikes a pose before closing the security shutter, which Kat skips, she's going to triple dodge up the escalator that's dressed as a ghost for Halloween. Dodging delays her movement just enough for a zombie and Plaid up here to wake up, letting her get a really difficult chain dodge off on him to overall save time. She does a series of quick turns as she skates these stairs, which is when you let go of the direction you're holding, tap a direction to turn, then hold to run again. At the top, she interacts with some boards, holding one of her interact buttons while mashing the other to interact as soon as possible, with the boards just casually spilling down perfectly to form a bridge. She'll then triple dodge into the ladder up ahead, skip a cutscene, skate up some stairs with 2 quick turns thrown in to do a Yui, and dodge into another cutscene, with these cutscenes more or less amounting to Jill continuing to climb up and Nemi still in hot pursuit. Like literally hot. Which, like, I'm sure this has been asked a ton, but how exactly does Nemesis keep finding Jill? Like, in particular, at this point in the game, how did it know she was gonna be coming out of the sewers at that exact place and time? I know the answer is often, it has a highly intelligent parasite in its head, but if it's really that smart and really wants to kill Jill, why didn't it just crush her head instead of tossing her and winding up its flamethrower? Or a farming or something? Anyway, we're just about to enter the first boss fight, referred to as Nemi 1. Kat'll open with a magnum shot to its chest, then run left towards some shotgun shells while tossing a nade to the right so she doesn't get staggered by the blast. She'll run right up to it and blast it in the belt with her shotgun, which for some reason bugs out the game and drops your DA to the minimum 11,000, with runners having no clue why it does that. After grabbing a green herb, she waits out Nemi's iframes for a visual cue to toss a grenade, which she pairs with a magnum shot to the chest to finish the fight. She does a shift boost into a diagonal dodge after the cutscene to enter another walkie-talkie segment, so let's talk about that DA glitch. So yeah, for some reason blasting Nemesis like that resets your DA down to 11,000, which again is the minimum DA for Inferno. Before that shot, Kat's DA was in the high 14,000s, probably around 14,800, so the glitch is a huge deal that really enables a lot of the rest of this route. Thanks to the DA increases from finishing up the fight, Kat's currently at around 11,500, but now DA management becomes crucial for the rest of the run. It's important to note that perfect dodges add 100 DA on Inferno, so you really don't want to dodge any more attacks than necessary from here on out. Up here, Kat will interact with the locked alleyway door to interrupt and stop the slow ending of the dodge animation before doing a pretty tricky entrance into Kendo's gun shop where you really gotta have the right angle and approach for Jill to not stumble. Inside, she skips a cutscene of Kendo assuming Jill's liquored up by the way she entered, with Kat then grabbing the key for outside, along with a shotgun attachment as she leaves. The attachment increases your ammo capacity from 4 to 6, lets you shoot faster, and also fully reloads the shotgun when you first equip it, so she's gonna hold off on attaching it until she needs a reload later. In the alleyway, she has to chain dodge the tentacle head cop here as it tries to dive at her, and has to do another perfect dodge on a tentacle head inside the building she's gonna cut through here. Outside, she immediately skips a cutscene where Nemesis shows back up, now kitted with a rocket launcher. On Inferno, the rockets hold true to the laser, unlike on other difficulties where they can miss where Nemi aims, so Kat just has to sidestep the laser from time to time. She keeps her camera facing the wall to prevent Nemi from remembering you got games on your phone, then has to dodge a tentacle head here, and will shotgun a different tentacle head's legs on the left here because dodging it can be really dicey. Kat begins a triple dodge at the pallet on the left here, which brings her right up into the next cutscene trigger. You just have to hold W to dodge the rockets in this stretch, with a double dodge thrown in at the end to enter the cutscene slightly sooner. A rocket explodes like right next to Jill in this cutscene, so after the cutscene you're in the danger animation state, with dodging being the fastest way to get around when in the fine or danger states. Kat has dodge bound to both space and a side mouse button, so that she can really spam it here after dropping down to make sure she squeaks a dodge in before this walkie-talkie. Getting this dodge in to be slightly farther forward saves 0.3 seconds, which is genuinely huge in a game like this where small time saves and losses really add up. Carlos just told Jill she should try to lure Nemesis down to the subway station because he has an idea on how to slow Nemi down. She dodges and wiggles up the stairs to trigger the cutscene where Nemesis blows the giant head off the Twinkle Super Shop and it Raiders of the Lost Ark's after you, with the head rolling faster at higher DAs, so when you play on assisted, you have to wait an extra 5 seconds for it to pass. Pick me behavior, to be honest. Kat skates back up the stairs, taking a right at the top to head into an alley. She looks down a lot during this stretch since Nemi is still in pursuit, and looking down prevents him from jumping in front of you. After dodging into the fence gate and rounding the corner, we see Carlos up ahead who invites us to his pool party. Kat skips a cutscene up here where we learn Carlos's master plan for slowing down Nemesis was hitting him with a single claymore mine and shooting a gas truck to explode. This brings her to the subway station where she immediately burns through some excess ammo to lower her DA a bit, buying a bit of leverage, with the goal from the outset now within reach, taking the subway out of the city with a bunch of evacuating civilians. This wraps up our first stint as Jill, as we're about to swap to Carlos for a bit, but before the swap, Kat will change her costume to the Stars one. This game has time bleed, where every time you swap between Jill and Carlos, the timer ticks unnecessarily based on your specific hardware. For some reason, if you have the Stars costume equipped during the swap, you bleed about 0.1 seconds less than normal. Again, the in-game timer doesn't tick while the game's paused, so she doesn't lose time when swapping costumes. She also changes the action prompt setting from tap to hold, which is for when you interact with things. Interact meters fill faster when you have the tap prompt and you mash, but when she takes over as Carlos in a moment, she's going to intentionally get bit by a zombie to lower her DA, and by using the hold setting to get out of the bite, she takes a bit more damage from it taking longer to get out, which also maximizes her DA loss. Taking over as Carlos, she'll again waste a bunch of ammo to lower her DA before taking that intentional bite, which also skips a dialogue with Tyrell, saving about 2 seconds. So in the story, Carlos doesn't board the subway with Jill since he and Tyrell have new orders to go search the city for a Dr. Nathaniel Bard, thinking that he might be able to help make a vaccine for the virus. That search begins by returning to RPD from the previous game. Meanwhile, Jill hops on the train with Mihail, the leader of Carlos's squad, and Nikolai, the ghost from earlier, which turns out you should never never trust ghosts because Nikolai was behind his squad getting ambushed. Nemesis also attacks the train, with Nikolai leaving everyone for dead, all the civilians getting killed, and Mikhail sacrificing himself as the train crashes. Kat changed the interact prompt back to tap after taking the bite from Brad, a STARS member who sacrificed himself to save Jill in the game's intro and also just infected Kenneth Branagh's cousin. She grabs a green herb while waiting for Tyrell to pinpoint Dr. Bard to the STARS office on the second floor of the West Wing, with Carlos kinda starting to realize that Umbrella might be the baddies. She'll then interact with the nearby item box after the computer screen portion ends. She wants to do some inventory management to put the green herb at the start of her inventory and free up her first 4 spots in general. That way key items fill those slots when she grabs them and are quicker to access. She's going to do this inventory management in the box since the gate Tyrell opens continues to open while you're in the boxes menu as opposed to your normal inventory screen. Kat's quick method for clearing the first 4 slots is zigzagging the rifle to swap places with items a couple times. She'll then quickly use the green herb in the first slot to clear the slot and make up for the bite she took from Brad. So Carlos doesn't have a dodge. She has an elbow bash that you can chain into a punch, with the start of the elbow animation being fast and great for entering cutscenes like at this door. So remember 2 videos ago when I said Frit first has to get past a hanging zombie around the corner at the end of the hallway up here, so he's gonna do a quick turn there because if you take too wide a turn, the zombie will fall and stagger you, losing half a second? First he has to get past a hanging zombie around the corner at the end of the hallway up here. He's gonna do a quick turn there because if you take too wide a turn, the zombie will fall and stagger you, losing half a second. Well, Kat doesn't have to take the tight turn here because the zombie won't fall since it's waiting for Frit to do his run. Up here, she'll elbow bash the guy at the end of the hall and aim to quickly exit the elbow bash animation, then time her run and quick turn past a licker and zombie while they bust out of the operations room. In there, she'll grab a flash, followed by another herb in the next room, with her elbow bashing right after the herb to inch a bit forward before a walkie-talkie with Tyrell. She's making her way to some stairs in the back of the building, but she has to get through a really tricky hall where she first opens by elbowing a cop zombie to take her out of the equation, aiming to get out of the elbow, then shooting no more than 5 shots that ideally hit a guy while he rounds the corner, but worst case scenario like here just helps time out your movement, elbow checking the dude because he didn't come out and get shot, and using bullet penetration to take out 2 zombies at once. Speaking of bullet penetration, this game has a weird quirk where if you load certain saves, bullet penetration goes away, which makes practicing this section specifically, along with the final boss, really obnoxious since you have to load a save from far enough away. The final boss is the 4th boss fight, and to get bullet penetration for practice, you have to load a save from before the 3rd boss fight, so you have to do that fight just to practice the final boss. So to get to the STARS office and hopefully find Dr. Bard, she first has to grab this key here. That's because you need to detonate some C4 on a wall to clear a path to the STARS office, but to arm the C4, you need a 9-volt battery. The battery is in a locked safety deposit room on the 1st floor, which is the room the key she just grabbed unlocks. That room's around the corner up here, but she has to get past a licker first, which she does by tossing a flash when she hears the licker start squealing like a hog, praying she doesn't get bad RNG where a zombie comes out from a room after the flash. Quick pause buffer to make sure a zombie isn't body blocking, and she then heads into the room to grab the battery. Kat's movement in this room is based entirely around manipulating the 2 lickers outside, with her not running until after grabbing the battery, then waiting for the chivalrous zombie Brad to open the door for her, then quick turning once she passes the green line on the floor. With the battery, she can now head up to the 2nd floor to arm the C4 in the locker room and clear her path to the STARS office, which is the end of RPD and this Carlos segment. After she blows up the wall comes a really sketchy and precise part of the run where it's just a madhouse of enemies all crowding in the women's locker room, and your movement has got to be exact to get through cleanly. She'll start by holding W and D with no shift boost. Very important to not shift boost. Then hold W to aggro a dude on the left who misses, buying some time. Then turns her camera to check for rare RNG where a pale head blocks your path. Then does a quick aim tap to get a cop zombie to lunge for the rest of this room with a quick turn to exit. After making that intensely scary room look like a cakewalk, she can just run past a licker to the STARS office, where we learn that Dr. Bard is actually not here. He's trapped at a hospital nearby. Carlos also hears from Jill, who tells him the subway derailed, but signal is lost before she can elaborate, wrapping up RPD and bringing us to Clock Tower where we're playing as Jill, with Kat right away swapping back to the beach costume, cause gotta style on them zombies. But what the hell, man, why doesn't this costume include the big hat? The people want the big hat. Release the big hat cut. So in the story, it's now several minutes earlier. The train just derailed, and we're too far underground to radio Carlos, and we gots to talk to our mans. Kat angles her camera a specific way before picking up some mine rounds for the grenade launcher and interacting with the item box to deposit the bolt cutters, Kendo's key, pistol, and magnum, with her then combining the shotgun and attachment to get the free reload I mentioned earlier and moving a green herb to the first slot. She then does a slide and angle dodge to cleanly exit the room, yoinking the grenade launcher along the way thanks to how she angled the camera. She's going to be dodging past a lot of enemies here, but is careful with her dodge spacing and placement to make sure that she doesn't accidentally chain dodge any of them. This is because, again, perfect dodges add 100 DA, so she's only trying to do that whenever absolutely necessary. Also worth mentioning, since she now has the grenade launcher, is that it's surprisingly great for stair skating, with it being the fastest weapon to skate with behind grenades and flashes. When Kat goes up the stairs ahead, she's going to pull up her graphics setting and lower the image quality to 50%. Her computer for some reason started experiencing GPU spikes during the Nemi 2 and 3 fights, and she found lowering this setting helped with that and makes the fights more consistent, though Kat admits that this might be a placebo thing. She watches the cutscene where Nemesis reenacts that one dope fire scene from The Thing from Another World up until Nemi hits the waters, and she finds watching it until that point makes going for a particularly toxic shot in the upcoming fight more consistent. Also in this cutscene is Jill's half of the conversation with Carlos, where she reveals that not only did the train crash, but Nikolai left everyone to die. Also, Nemesis mutated or some shit or whatever. To open the Nemi 2 fight, Kat immediately shift boosts to grab some nade launcher flame rounds, followed by doing that super toxic shot to Nemi's knee where you have an extremely tight frame window to land it. She then leaps through the fire and unloads 4 shotgun shells into Nemi's heart, which popped out because of the super toxic shot, followed by 2 to the head before starting a reload and backing off when Nemi leaps. She lets loose 3 shells after loading them, followed by hitting it with another flame round to interrupt a roar that would stagger. She then changes to mine rounds and quick swaps weapons to cancel the ammo loading animation of the launcher, then shoots a mine round on the bus before swapping back to flame rounds. Kat nabs some shotgun shells and uses them to reload, then shoots a flame round right where Nemi will land and shoots 6 more shells into the heart that slithers out. She strafes right and fires another flame round as it gets up, then shoots 6 more rounds, pause buffering after the 6th to make sure she didn't crit Nemi since that affects how the fight plays out, and also intentionally tanks a hit to primarily lower her DA. She baits an attack by running towards the box and aim tapping, then grabs more shells, fires 1 more flame round, and finishes off Nemi 2 with more shells. She grabs some more mine rounds after the fight, raises her image quality back to 100%, then skips a couple cutscenes to wrap up Clock Tower and bring us to hospital. In the cutscenes, Nemesis ends up shooting Jill with a bone spike, infecting her with the virus, and Carlos finds her half a day later, bringing her to the hospital Dr. Bard's supposedly at, hoping he can find a vaccine there. Side note, people complain about this game being too short, but right here we have 12 hours pass in one cutscene alone, so I'm not sure what they're on about. As she passes the liquor in the next room, Kat does an elbow to make it drop, then looks up so it doesn't lick her. To get to Dr. Bard and hopefully find the vaccine, you need to unlock a door that's locked by voice confirmation. To open it, we have to first cross the hospital to get a tape recording of Bard, with Kat grabbing the tape player on the left here while swapping weapons, with swapping weapons during first-time pickups letting you continuously run instead of doing a little stumble. Here she shoots 3 bullets down to delay her movement and prevent a zombie from aggroing while also burning some DA. So the cassette Kat'll use to enter the lab Dr. Bard's in, that's located in the treatment room. But the treatment room is initially only accessible through an observation corridor, and that corridor is locked and only accessible if you have a hospital ID. There's a hospital ID located in the staff locker room, but that locker room is, wouldn't you guess it, locked. That key is here in the courtyard she just hopped into, with Carlos having totally sliced his exposed piggies on the broken window glass in the process. She can now head to the locker room for the ID, but the locker room is upstairs, so she's gotta backtrack through the path she just took, only this time instead of degloving Carlos's toes, she's gonna take a left when she re-enters the building from the roof. And man, as she runs there, this hospital is eerily quiet. Makes me think that Joel Miller must have passed through here not long before Carlos. So after using the key to enter the locker room up ahead, she'll shift boost on in before opening a locker on the right with a flash in it, then quick turning as it opens and elbowing in the direction of the key card locker. She makes sure she waits to interact with the keycard locker until she for sure sees the prompt for it, because it's easy to accidentally open the locker next to it, which causes a zombie who got bullied to fall out on you and lose time. She hugs the right as she exits to aggro a zombie around the corner, which is actually pretty precise to pull off, but it lets you waltz past these other zombies and save 0.6 to 0.7 seconds. Exiting here leads to a cutscene where a hunter beta spawns in front of you, with Kat looking up because for some reason they don't really attack when you look up. She times out a pause buffer with about 6 menu cycles before shooting about 6 bullets, followed by a shot boost, which makes a hunter sprint out from behind the corner, allowing her to run past while looking up. After running past the liquor with zoomies, she elbows into the keycard door, unlocking the core door that eventually leads to the treatment room, where the cassette is located. She reloads her pistol to free an inventory slot for the cassette and runs down the middle of the hall to force a palehead to come around the corner, which lets her pass freely. When she enters the treatment room up here, she's going to aim to make the first hunter lunge and miss, with the other hunter choosing to jump on the bed, which you respond to by looking up. After grabbing the cassette, she looks up again en route to the exit, with her elbowing the locked door up here that shortcuts her back to the main upstairs corridor above the courtyard. There she'll full force slam Carlos's ankles into the wall while leaping down to the courtyard one last time. She's currently making her way to the research lab now to use that cassette and hopefully find Dr. Bard. After aim tapping through this door, she takes out a flash to prepare for the next room where she's going to toss it to solve what would otherwise be a super RNG heavy moment. She'll combine the cassette and tape player up ahead and then have to wait a bit before entering the research lab while the audio from the tape plays out. She'll spend this time dumping all her AR ammo save for 5 rounds, which she's going to use to bait a liquor to slash her in a bit. Once the dialogue wraps up and we gain entry to the room, we learn that Dr. Bard is dead. He's been shot. Maybe a ghost did it. Bard being dead is devastating for the party because now who's gonna try and seduce every NPC we meet? After skipping a cutscene where Carlos becomes fully aware of Umbrella's responsibility for the virus, Kat heads into the sample room where she faces Carlos's back to the sample because for some reason it's easier for Carlos to pick up the sample with his cheeks than his hands. When exiting, there's a weird camera hijack that focuses on a hunter that drops into the room, but you can pretty easily just run away from it. Kat will turn her camera to face a wall on the left up ahead before the door, which makes it possible to quick turn through this door, since to open and by extension quick turn through doors in 3R, you have to be looking directly at the door. She looks down and does a quick W tap in this room to make the liquor join the turbo team so she can blow right past, then looks back at it, turns forward, and shoots the remaining 5 bullets to bait it to come slash her as quickly as possible. This lowers her DA a bit, with her immediately popping a green herb after. So in the story, Carlos administers the butt vaccine to Jill, with Tyrell showing up right after, with us learning the government is going to blow up Raccoon City to prevent the spread of the virus. Zombies then start swarming the hospital, and we've got to fend them off to protect Jill while Tyrell works on lowering the security shutters. The game now essentially turns into an auto-scroller for a bit, where you have to fight off the horde. Thankfully, your DA is locked during this segment. Taking and dealing damage don't affect your DA at all here, so Kat can fire away with reckless abandon. You can't really gain or lose time here, you just want to make sure you're killing all the zombies in a timely manner, with Kat having the order of operations memorized. Something worth noting though is that she intentionally fills her inventory during this segment because later on it makes picking up an item a bit faster. While Kat takes on these zombies from her own sort of Winchester tavern, I'd just like to say, as always, that I hope you're all doing well. If you're not, then please remember, as always, that there is a tomorrow and that no feeling is final. It's really easy to let things linger in your head and cloud every thought. They develop this weight that feels really impossible to carry, and it makes it feel like that's all there is on the horizon, that this will weigh you down forever. But always remember that there is a tomorrow, that the sun is going to rise tomorrow. That thing weighing you down cannot stop that. And it might not feel like it moment to moment or day to day, but that thing weighing you down will lighten, and you'll go days before realizing you haven't thought about it in days. You will get there. In the meantime, make sure to give yourself credit for any small mental health wins. Too many people will credit a piece of media for getting them through difficult times either right now or in the past. The music or movies or podcasts or videos or books, anything that helps you get through the day, helps distract you a little bit, they might do exactly that, distract. But ultimately, you're the one experiencing each day and fighting and getting through. So give yourself credit and remember, no feeling is final. Back to the run, she knows the first hunter is about to spawn from behind the door she's next to, and standing at the door causes it to open instantly instead of there being a breakout sequence. She then positions herself on the other side of the desk from it so that it can't really do anything to her. She then runs into the Gamma's room to grab a flash, taking out a guy who pops out to say, "I'm here too." We still have some more time to kill while Cat lays waste, so I guess we can use this time to shout out some very important people who make videos like these possible. My patrons. Every other video on my channel is chosen by them, and if you'd like to participate in suggestions and polls for future videos too, then check out my Patreon. Supporting also gives you access to videos early and without ads, your name in these credits, updates on what videos are being made, and if you support at the middle tier or higher, you also get access to my monthly retrospective series as it releases instead of a year later on my second channel. There's of course the monthly live Q&A for the middle tier as well, and a new thing I'm doing for the top tier where after every speedrun explained, I make a video walking through my timeline in my editing software, showing how I made the video. Supporting is entirely unnecessary though. The Speedrun Explains will still get made and released for everyone to enjoy, whether you support or not. That fact just makes all of you who do choose to support that much more special though, so again, thank you so much for helping out. So believe it or not, we still have some more time to kill in this segment, so I wanted to bring up something super special about this Inferno run that Kat has put so much time into. I mentioned in the intro that she recently got the first ever sub 43-minute run. She busted her ass off for a month straight to get it, with there being a ton of developments to the route to hyper-optimize it and make it possible for her to shave time off her 4310. The reason she put nose to grindstone for it though is because a viewer in the Resident Evil speedrunning community put up a half Bitcoin bounty for the first sub 43 run, issued in July with a deadline of September 22nd. This overlapped a lot with the production of this video, so it was a really amazing experience seeing the behind the scenes of Kat's hard work and dedication to get the sub 43 with constant tiny improvements as she inched closer to the goal. She eventually cleared it, and not just by a second or two, she got a 42.54, claiming the bounty in decisive fashion. Overall, a really dope story from the speedrunning community. So Kat just gunned down the second hunter when it jumped in, then she grabbed the detonator and is now doing laps to get some light cardio in while waiting for the next cutscene. This is where more zombies bust in since they heard Don't Stop Me Now playing, but Kat just has to arm the explosive, shoot the electric box to stun all the zombies, then head to the back room to kill some time, letting Carlos finally get an itch he has from not wiping too well. After giving a zombie a hickey, the bomb goes off, the entrance collapses, and Kat does a pause buffer to time out some dialogue that takes a second to load. There's then a bunch of cutscenes to skip, including one where Jill wakes up cured and asking why the vaccine tasted so funny, but yeah, this wraps up hospital and brings us to warehouse. Kat starts off by dodging forward to interact with the burst pistol, backing out of the menu to discard excess handgun bullets she was forced to grab at the start of ME2, then picking up the burst pistol right after with the pickup being instant. Having a full inventory shaves off half the pickup time on first time pickups and saves about 1.3 seconds. So Carlos has set off to go find a vaccine stockpile, and Jill has set off to go find and help Carlos, with Tyrell having mentioned there being a storage facility underground, which is where we're headed. When Kat rides the elevator down to the storage facility up ahead, she's gonna swap some of her weapon binds. This is mostly because of all the route changes that have been implemented with the big Inferno grind. Some strats have changed, but Kat's muscle memory is still tied to having her pistol on a specific bind, so this lets her kinda Hannah Montana, best of both worlds. Despite having just ridden the elevator down into storage, you've then gotta immediately ride a scissor lift up to enter the warehouse proper, with Kat being careful to not recreate Death 594 from 1000 Ways to Die. At the top, she'll do a pretty precisely placed and timed triple dodge, with the second one being a diagonal left dodge. She pause buffers to perfectly time a shift boost to start, then does a triple dodge where if you're off by a skosh, you'll get a little too close to a wall and try to hug it. She grabs a hip pouch mid-diagonal dodge, expanding her inventory a final time from 10 to 12 as she enters the warehouse proper. The main focus of this unfortunate man on the night of a full moon is an elevator we need to ride to enter the final section of the game, Labs. Kat does a triple dodge to the warehouse elevator with the ghost Nikolai sabotaging it, and the new objective becomes finding 3 fuses to get it running again. She pause buffers to make sure she lands her shot boost on the guy hanging like one of the Bears off-season champ banners, and then lets him bite her on purpose as she waits for this scissor lift to lower. She lets this bite take her health dangerously low to help lower her DA as much as possible, with her then using a green herb to bring her up to caution range where she'll now be running faster and not need to dodge constantly. The first of the 3 fuses is at the top of this lift, with Kat positioning herself and camera so the fuse is to her right, and the ladder she'll need to climb down is in front of her. That way she can run and dodge straight to the fuse and already have her camera set up for a forward dodge to the ladder. She'll then have to immediately quick turn off the ladder and dodge as things fall and stagger Jill, just trying to get that extra bit of distance. The movement in this section as you run around and grab the fuses is unnecessarily precise, with there being so many necessary dodges despite Kat being in the caution health range and it generally being faster to run than dodge. It's not just that there are a lot of things to interact with and it's faster to dodge into triggers than running normally, but there's also enemies you have to dodge to get past safely and a bunch of things that jump scare and stagger Jill, so you want to dodge into those for the extra distance as well. The second fuse is down a ladder she has to raise a lift to get to. After activating and waiting for the lift, she's going to pause buffer as she runs onto it to be able to discern the exact moment Jill starts moving so she can properly angle her camera for the double dodge to the ladder. There's a container door opening jump scare here that Kat dodges into before grabbing the fuse, and a second container jump scare after she turns around and starts heading back towards the ladder. To get to the final fuse, she has to backtrack along the walkway she built by raising the lifts, with her having to cut through the room on the far side of the warehouse. There's a couple enemies in there, including a palehead that Kat is going to shoot with a mine round then double tap with a shotgun, and there's also some shotgun shells she'll pick up on the right side of the room. She has to be careful with where she places the mine shot on the palehead though. She wants the palehead to hit the wall behind it rather than go flying forwards. At the bottom of the ladder, she'll quick turn and triple dodge to the fuse, with her intentionally wall hugging at the fuse to stop her momentum. She's then perfectly spaced for a quick turn and triple dodge right back to the ladder to avoid a hunter beta that showed up down here. At the top of the ladder, she'll go back through the room she double tapped the palehead in, which was important because without the double tap, there's a high chance he'll grab you here. Re-entering the warehouse from the room she first entered through, now en route to the elevator to use the fuses, she snipes the Bears banner palehead in the legs with her shotgun. This gives her a window to triple dodge past all the other enemies without it potentially chasing and getting her. She then pause buffers into the fuse interaction because the prompt for the fuse is tiny and really hard to nail. Like, this is widely considered by runners to be the worst to interact in the game. After using the fuses, she pause buffers to more easily make the window of entering the lift without getting hit by the tentacle head, then skips a cutscene where Tyrell shows up, with him having been able to just waltz past the tentacle head and use our fuses. Kat will immediately interact with the nearby inventory box and withdraw the magnum along with any other item to fill one more inventory slot. She's then going to do a pretty tough trick to learn where she'll use Tyrell to boost herself by first holding shift till she starts running, then mashing dodge forward twice and once forward right to get in front of Tyrell. This makes him push her down the hall, compensating for her inability to run here, and after a triple dodge to the door, she shoots a flame round on herself to interrupt dialogue and instantly start a cutscene she skips. In this cutscene, Nemesis shows back up and kills Tyrell, which marks the end of Warehouse and the start of the final section, Labs. So right now, Kat's headed to the experiment room to grab a USB drive. The USB drive is the first in a series of actions she needs to accomplish in order to make the vaccine that'll be used to save Raccoon City from being bombed. Ultimately, she's going to end up synthesizing the vaccine in this experiment room here where she grabs the USB drive. To synthesize the vaccine though, she first needs to get a culture sample from the laboratory and the liquid-filled test tube in the incubation lab. The flash drive she just picked up contains an override to open the door down here on the left, which leads to the storage room. This room is pretty central to navigating labs. We'll be passing through here a couple times. After doing a shot boost on some rain, she does a dope chain dodge forward into the right past a palehead and skates up to the laboratory. There she'll interact with a doohickey which will rotate the thingamabob. Then the whatchamacallit will spin and grab the culture sample. She'll leave the room in quick turn when she gets to the stairs with there being 2 paleheads waiting there. She'll try and shoot the first guy in the chest with a mine round as center mass as possible so that he stumbles far enough back for the other palehead to be hit too. She'll then do a surprisingly precise double dodge where if you start a little too early or late, this sleeping tentacle palehead can grab and kill you. Kat's now got to make her way to the incubation lab. The unpowered door that leads the direction of the incubation lab is down here at the bottom of the server room, where she first has to go behind some storage containers to push in a battery and power up the door. So I'm sure that a lot of you have picked up by now that the voice actors in this run aren't speaking English. Kat has the voices set to Japanese, but not because the voice lines are faster or anything. As I've mentioned, later on in lab, she'll have to use the machine in the experiment room to synthesize the vaccine. The synthesis machine typically has a delay before you can activate it, but for some reason if you're playing in Japanese, there's no forced delay. You can put the vaccine in pretty much right away and save 2.3 seconds. So at this point in the run when grinding for record, Kat uses this brief elevator ride as a moment of respite to wipe the sweat off her hands because shit's pretty intense this far into a run this high stakes. She runs on the right side of the walkway here to be able to shoot the palehead and make him fall backwards the instant he rounds the corner. She aim taps to delay her movement and prevent an insta-grab in the room and shoots a mine round on the palehead's body after dodging through. This mine blows up the nearby enemies as she grabs the test tube and combines it with the culture to make the vaccine sample in one go. Having fully filled her inventory earlier allows her to combine and pocket them in one go rather than menu a second time. She now has to make it all the way back to the experiment room so she can both make the vaccine and capitalize on the Japanese voice files. At the bottom is a combat arena where she'll have to face a handful of hunters, so she shoots a mine round in preparation. Each hunter takes about 2 mine rounds to kill, so she hits the ones in front of her with 2 back to back, places one in prep on the hunter that'll jump out last, hits the 2 in rear with one while the shot from the elevator also explodes, and cleans up the final hunter with 1 shot after it jumps out. After the alarms stop freaking out, she gets a free shift boost off the door as it opens and pause buffers to check the tentacle palehead's location in this room. She's going to shot boost it to keep moving smoothly and dodge to get in range of opening the automatic door sooner. There's a palehead she double dodged past earlier that's now camping the door whom she shotguns, but there is a chance he tanks the shot. It's a bit of a dice roll. She's now headed back to and through that storage room where she turns her camera to check and see where the paleheads she detonated on the stairs are at now. This run they ended up being on the stairs still trying to get past each other, so she can mind her own business and run out into the hall past a palehead that's typically harmless. She can then skate up some stairs towards the experiment room. Synthesizing the vaccine itself is easy, with the puzzle solution always being the same with mid, high, low. Kat shift boosts to pick up the most toxic looking vaccine to ever exist, then forward right dodges and right dodges to the vent where Kat looks down to get a better view of something. I didn't really get what she and Frit were laughing at here. This leads to a cutscene she skips where Nemesis shows back up and we have to do it together 2025, crawling away from a life-threatening pull. Once Nemi stops being so annoying, she shift boosts to some flame rounds she grabs while quick turning and starts making her way to the boss rush that wraps up the game, Nemi 3 and 4. She reloads the shotgun and nade launcher, with her going into the fight with the latter equipped. In the cutscene leading into this fight, that fuckhead ghost shows back up and steals the vaccine before throwing Jill to Nemesis. Kat opens unpredictably, first with a flame round to the face followed by a lowering the image quality to 50% because she forgot before the fight. She fully unloads her shotgun into Nemi, backing up after the 4th shot, and gets 1 extra shot in after a 2-shell reload before shooting a flame round on the ground under Nemi the moment before the cutscene starts. Nemi takes burn damage during the cutscene, so she waits on skipping the cutscene until Nemi's taken the max amount of damage she can take before the next phase. She'll open the next phase with a flame round to cancel a scripted roar that staggers, then swap to mines before dumping 2 magnum rounds in his dome. She shoots one mine where Nemi is about to leap that also kills a zombie, puts another on a vent for a different zombie spawn, and fires a flame round right where Nemi is about to land. Kat places 5 shotgun shots into Nemi's heart that pops out, then 1 in the head before backing off to go grab some more shells. She fully reloads the shotgun, hits him with another flame round to stun and re-up the burn, and fully unloads the shotgun. She'll dodge the next attack while holding back and right to manipulate Nemi into a leap attack with a run up and aim tap here. She gets the burn going once more and then uses her shotgun to both shoot Nemesis but also 2 zombies on the other side with bullet penetration. You can see their bodies fall here. Based on where Nemi jumps up to, Kat knows where he'll end up running and fully reloads her shotgun while waiting. She flame rounds him once he reaches his attack spot, knocking him down as she uses her burst pistol and shotgun to finish him off. After skipping the cutscene of Carlos killing Nemi with the crane, it's just a short run to the cutscene trigger for Nemi 4, which includes us confronting Nikolai about getting the vaccine back, which is interrupted by the breakout of the final fight. Also, this brief stretch of running around in 50% image quality all the more makes me appreciate how good the game looks at 100%. Frit says Nemi 4 is where your heart rate leaps to 160 during an Inferno run, with Kat opening by holding back and shift to immediately dodge into the railgun interact. While the railgun opens, she grabs 2 bullet packs before quick turning back and dodging into the railgun grab. This really marks the beginning of the fight, with Kat moving right to align with pustules she has to shoot and there being a scary RNG factor to Nemi's attack choices. She gets lucky with him doing the 5-slam attack pattern, with her popping the 2 pustules she's aligned with while dodging forward and taking out 4 more during the bullet time you get from aiming after a perfect dodge. She shoots the final pustule, then pause buffers to identify the acid spray pattern and make sure she doesn't interact with the battery while her skin melts off. On Inferno, there's a super small window to push in both batteries in one cycle, which she does with a shift boost left and pause buffer. She's got to push in a battery on the left and has routed out movement to get there while clearing out all the pustules to stagger Nemi again, with a pause buffer at the end to once more check for acid spray. Acid is truly a run killer and something you really have to look out for on Inferno. If you get a bad spray pattern and get hit, at best you lose a lot of time and you'll often just die. With the final battery pushed in, she can now interact with the railgun and follow the quick time events to tell Nemesis he can shove it. Kat and Frit really revamped the Nemi 3 and 4 fights during her recent grind, with the Nemi 3 fight being wholly different and Nemi 4 getting cleaned up a ton. The old Nemi 3 strat was remarkably more toxic while also being slower, and the new Nemi 4 strats save up to 7 seconds. After the cutscene, Kat will immediately bump her image quality back up and can then mostly hold W to the finish. That is until she does a triple dodge into the ladder to save a fraction of a second. With a dodge left at the top, she'll be aligned with the final hall she has to run down. This is a moment where being in the caution animation state is huge, saving 1.5 seconds. At the end of this stretch, she'll triple dodge into the elevator and ride it up, with her doing another triple dodge and mouse wiggle up the stairs after the elevator to trigger the final cutscene where Nikolai destroys the vaccine, but he's left in Raccoon City while Jill and Carlos evacuate the bombing. That'll about wrap it up for this run, but after skipping the cutscenes and credits, we'll be able to see Kat's final time for this segmented run, so stick around. First though, again, this video is sponsored by War Thunder. Use the links in the description or pinned comment to play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and mobile. New and returning PC and console players that haven't played in 6 months will get a limited time big bonus pack containing the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of a premium account. I'd also like to use some of this time to thank not only you for making it this far in the video, but to give the biggest thank yous to Kat and Frit for helping make this video. As you've seen in both this video and the 2R video they helped make, they're both wildly talented runners. Neither of these videos would have been the same without them. I cannot stress enough how much I enjoyed working with them. If you want to check out their channels, links are in the description. That's about all for this video though. This was a segmented, any percent no intro, Inferno speedrun of Resident Evil 3 Remake. I've been tomatoanus, and I hope you have an above average day.